This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. Everyone able to see my screen? Can you confirm anyone? Yeah, fine. So today is a revision class. So whatever sessions we have completed so far. So we have completed 8 sessions, right? Nearly 8 sessions. So I just wanted to give a recap on all sessions because Monday onwards we are going to work on services, right? Before going to services, so I wanted to recap all the sessions which we discussed. This is just overview of all the sessions, okay? Because people joined a bit late, right? So few people added yesterday, before day before yesterday, few more people added in the group. So recently joined, right? So that is why I want to recap all the sessions. So anyone newly joined today only? Anyone today joined? So this is the first session which you joined today. Anyone joined today? Can you ping me in the chat your WhatsApp number, email address in the chat? Can you ping me? Fine. If anyone joined today, just give your WhatsApp number and email address in the chat so that I'll provide you all the previous recordings. Fine. Yeah. Fine. So we have completed 8 sessions, right? So 24th, our session, our batch started. Multi-cloud with DevOps started on 24th, right? Yeah. So we have completed 8 sessions so far. First one, DevOps introduction. DevOps introduction. And second one is question and answers. Technical questions and general question, which I collected from different batches, different students. Okay. Third session here is cloud introduction. Okay. And the fourth session, SDLC, software development lifecycle. Fifth session here is servers basics. Sixth one, networking basics. Seventh session, AWS account creation and overview of the console and console overview. AWS console overview, right? So eighth session, we have started EC2, the last session yesterday, right? It's a elastic compute cloud. So these eight sessions we have completed, right? So this EC2 will be repeated on Monday. Again, it will be repeated. Okay. So these are all basic sessions. These are all basic sessions, right? So DevOps introduction. So what is DevOps? Why DevOps? What is automation? What are the activities we automate in real-time projects? Okay. How can we cope up in the projects? What is the cost saving? These are all covered, right? What is DevOps, anyone? What is DevOps? DevOps is not a tool, right? DevOps is not a tool. It's a methodology. It is a set of practices. DevOps is a DevOps is not a tool. It is a set of practices. See here. DevOps is not a Yeah, it is a set of practices that combines software development and IT operations. Right? Yeah. It is a combination of development and operations. Right? It is not a tool. If anyone asks you this question, right? So people are saying, yeah, so currently DevOps market is good, so plenty of openings like this. But actually, it is a set of practices. It's a combination of development and operations. In DevOps, what we will do, what is our role? We automate the activities. Currently, whatever manual activities we are performing in real-time projects, those we can do in automated way. For example, code deployments, right? So the application team, developer develop the code. Once development is completed, testing is completed, what they will do, they push the code to remote repository, which is GitHub. Once the code is moved to GitHub, see here, developer develop the code in their local Git. What is Git basically? We discussed already. Git is a repository tool or version control tool, right? What is repository? Where we store our source code, where we store our data is nothing but repository. It can be any data. It can be binary files, image files, video files, audio files, whatever data we store on the repository is nothing but whatever we store on the workspace is nothing but a repository, Git repository. So we have so many repositories are there in the market, right? Like SVN, Team Foundation, different repositories, Git, Bitbucket, GitLab, right? So GitHub is a very popular repository tool. Most of the organizations, 80% of the organizations, they are using GitHub, Git and GitHub, right? So because Git is having very good features, very good security also. In our project, before using Git, we used to use SVN. SVN is not secured. S1 is having some drawbacks. S1 is failed because of so many drawbacks, right? So we decommissioned SVN and we implemented Git last 6 years back. 6 years back we implemented Git. So last 6 years we haven't seen any single security concern, single issue because Git is very secure. Yeah, so we can store the data in secure way, and we can developers always they can push the code, pull the code, modify the code, merge the code, whatever they want. So Git is very secured, high secured. Okay. Yeah. So Git is a repository tool where we store our data, where we store our source code, right? Version control. What is version control? For example, multiple developers are multiple developers are working on same requirement, same application development. For example, in a project, 10 developers are there. 10 developers are working on same project. So one guy developing front end, second one developing back end. So third one and fourth one they are working on database, and others they are working on fixes, issues, plugins, patches, right? So who is doing what? How can we track? Who is doing what? How can we track? By using version control system. Version control system will track the changes, right? So who did changes, when did changes, what purpose did changes? Based on these comments, Git will track the versioning. For example, one developer developed the code today in Java. After 1 month, he come back and check. He may not understand who developed this code because in Java, hundreds of line code will be there. To identify that who did what, we can use the version control system. Understand, right? What is Git? What is GitHub? So in local Git, developer develop the code. Once development is completed, they push the code to GitHub. GitHub is the remote server. Once the code is moved to GitHub, in this flow, our next tool is Jenkins. Jenkins will take the code and it will convert into one artifact by using Maven. What is artifact? Like binary file. So whatever code, raw code is available in GitHub, that will be taken by Jenkins. Jenkins is a CI/CD tool. To automate activities, we use the Jenkins, right? Currently, we are automating. We automated all the activities, right? So to automate, we use the Jenkins. So Jenkins pull the code from GitHub to Jenkins. Once the code is pulled from GitHub to Jenkins, which is a raw code. What is raw code? Unstructured code, unformatted code. That raw code will not understand by application servers, Tomcat servers or JBoss servers, WebLogic, WebSphere. That is why we are integrating one more tool, which is Maven. What is Maven? What Maven will do? Maven is a build tool which will generate artifact. What is artifact? Artifact is nothing but archive file. So it will convert into WAR file, JAR file, ER file. So it takes the raw code from Jenkins and it will convert into binary file. Once it is converted into binary file, it will give back to Jenkins. Jenkins will push that artifact to application server. Here we deploy the code. This we can say build and release process. Currently we are using Agile methodology. What is Agile? Agile is a parallel development. Currently we are using Agile, right? Earlier we used to use waterfall methodology. That is sequential development. Agile is the parallel development. In parallel development, we require DevOps tools to automate the activities, right? So in Agile, what we will do, we create the sprints. What is sprint? Anyone? Sprint is nothing but timeline, right? Sprint can be 1 week to 1 month. So as per the sprint, the project, the application development should be completed, right? So in Agile, we always use the DevOps tools, right? So this flow we discussed, and also, yeah, we discussed about Ansible. What is Ansible? What Ansible will do, right? So Ansible automate all the activities, manual activities. For example, Java deployment. If I want to deploy Java on 1,000 servers, that take 10,000 minutes. We discussed already in the first session, right? DevOps introduction we discussed. If I want to deploy Java on 1,000 servers manual way, that takes 10,000 minutes. So when we use Ansible, so it will take Ansible take only 1 minute to perform the Java deployment on 1,000 servers, right? So because Ansible is very core tool, very advanced tool. So Ansible is yeah, configuration management tool, right? After that, we discussed about these are the tools. Yeah, this is the full course syllabus. These are the these are the services we are going to work on, right? So three clouds will be covered in our course. Three clouds will be covered: AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform. Linux also will be covered. So GitHub, Jenkins, Maven, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, Apache Tomcat, shell scripting, Grafana, JFrog, Prometheus, SonarQube. These are the DevOps tools. These are the three cloud platforms. So yesterday we started AWS, right? So those who opted for only AWS, right? So AWS take nearly 1 month. So if I cover 1.5 hour daily, it takes 25 days to 1 month. Okay. Yeah. After that, once yeah, in between AWS, we start working on Linux also. Linux will be covered 4 to 5 hours. So once complete the AWS, then we'll jump into DevOps. So we start GitHub, Jenkins, Maven, Ansible, Docker, these tools. After that, we'll come back to Azure, Microsoft Azure. So here I'm showing recordings, not recordings, live classes, live classes, right? So Microsoft Azure will go deep dive, very deep dive. Okay. Yeah. So Google Cloud also will go deep dive. Currently, every project team they're using at least two cloud platforms, at least two cloud platforms, right? Yeah. So either AWS and Azure or AWS GCP. because every organization they are having different customers, different clients, right? That is why they are using at least two platforms. Why we require two platforms, three platforms? Different costing, different quality, different customers, right? So that is why we are going to cover three platforms. Yeah. So once complete the AWS, then we'll jump into DevOps. After that, other platforms also will be covered. So in between, so 15 to 18 projects will be covered. Nearly 15 to 18 projects will be covered. Clear it, everyone? So in this course, we are going to cover, these are the tools. These are the tools we are going to cover. These are the tools. Yeah, we are going to cover. We are going to discuss. Okay, in depth. Every tool will go deep dive. Even AWS also, every service will go deep dive. Nearly 40 services will be covered in AWS. Okay, so these are the DevOps core tools. So we learn this all these tools, but we don't use all the tools in the same project. One or two tools only. One or two tools only. Understanding, right, everyone? Yeah, recently we got a requirement from Bank of America. So that is why today we have one written exam. Today we have one written exam. So in that they are asking only, they're asking only AWS and Jenkins. So today, yeah, see here, by 11 a.m., AWS and Jenkins exam is there. In this only, yeah, this is one of our client, Bank of America. They need they have nearly 18 positions, 18 positions, experience and freshers. So AWS and Jenkins only. We already prepared the exam questions, right? So today by 11 a.m., it is classroom exam, not online. Maybe after a few months, after a few weeks, not after a few weeks, maybe after 1 month or 2 months, we'll try to conduct online also. After 1 month, maybe, because the online exam is a bit challenging. So that is why, yeah. So offline exams presently we are conducting. Maybe after 1 month or after 2 months, online answer will be there, right? So if you qualify this exam, you can directly place into organization. So maybe technical round will be there. So very few questions they ask. Okay, you can directly go to project. Okay, so every month we will conduct these exams every month. So here, what they are asking, all AWS and Jenkins, right? So next opportunity we are getting, which is Azure. On Azure we are getting. So currently three clients are asking. So one client is confirmed already. That is why we're conducting exam. Other two clients also maybe next week they confirm, right? So if you score 90% in this exam, you can directly place into organization. Freshers experience also, right? We have integration with organizations, different organizations. Okay, yeah. That is why in our course we are going to learn this many tools, but we don't use all the tools. Only one or two tools only. We can use few tools only. What are the services covered in AWS, right? Services I share with you course content. So you can go through the course content. Nearly 40 services, very important services, very core services. In real-time projects, whatever services we are using, those will be covered. I'll share with you course content. Just you can ping me after this session so that I'll give you. Okay. Yeah. So this is the first session we covered, right? After that, we discussed about any questions up to here, anyone? Up to here, any questions, anyone? You can ping in the chat. You can ask me in the chat. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the chat. Is it clear to you, everyone? Yeah. Can people outside India also appear in? Yeah, yeah. So online exam we are planning. Online exam we are planning. By the time we can attend online exam. Okay. So currently we are conducting offline only, classroom only. So maybe after 1 month, after 2 months, we conduct every month we conduct online also. One online, one offline, like that. So by the time in our group, our backend team will inform. So currently 80 up to 81 batch. Up to 81 batch we are conducting exam. Okay. So our batch is 83 batch, right? Yeah. Fine. So after this DevOps introduction, we discussed about technical questions and general questions, right? Technical and general questions, which are very common questions, which I collected from different students, different batches, right? Yeah. After that, we discussed about cloud introduction. Cloud introduction. What is cloud? Why cloud? Why the project teams are looking for cloud infrastructure, right? What is cost saving? Why cost saving? Why the organizations are migrating their applications to cloud infrastructure, right? So these are all we covered, right? So the same session we covered 2 days before also, right? So AWS introduction. In AWS introduction we covered again because new guys joined for only AWS. By the time we repeated that. Fine. Yeah. After that we discussed about SDLC. SDLC. What is SDLC? Anyone? What is SDLC? We covered SDLC. Software development lifecycle. So how the software development will be happen? How the development will be happen? What is Agile, right? So what are the stages available? These are all we discussed, right? So developer develop the code in their local Git. Once development is completed, testing is completed, they push the code to GitHub. So after that, Jenkins will take the code and convert into artifact, deploy onto application servers. After that, so that will be operate. These are the seven stages. This is we can say CI/CD process, continuous integration, continuous delivery process. We discussed already this, right? So I gave some examples also in the SDLC, right? Yeah, SDLC is very important. Currently, every organization, every project team, they're using SDLC, right? Because currently we are using Agile methodology. In Agile, so sprints we create. So sprint can be 1 week to 1 month. So once we create the sprint, that should be completed within 1 month or within 1 week. Make sure that should be completed. Otherwise, what will happen? Escalations, right? So earlier in our project, I have joined in Verizon in 2005 as a fresher. So in Verizon, our team size, yeah, our team size, not in Verizon, 8 years back, 8 years back, 6 years back, our team size 180 members, 180 members in my last organization. Okay, 180 members 8 years back. So currently 30 members. Team size 180 members. So currently 30 members. Why that much of drastic change? Why that much of drastic change? Anyone? 180 members to 30 members reduced, right? Why that much of drastic change? Because of Agile methodology, parallel development. So currently we are using CI/CD process because of Agile, right? So earlier, if any project team want to develop any application, small application, they used to take 6 months, 1 year, like that, right? So they used to follow the waterfall methodology, sequential development. Fine. So, for example, one application development is going on, middle of the activity, some hot fixes happen. Hot fixes. What is hot fix? Bugs, issues. So by the time, so whenever issues happened, whenever hot fixes happened, immediately the development should be stopped because so that is sequential development, right? Once the issue is fixed, then only the development will move forward, right? So because, yeah, while working on development activity without fixing the issues, if you develop the code, so when we access the application, what will happen? We get errors, duplicate lines, issues, right? So to avoid that, normally they fix and they continue the activity. But in whereas in agile methodology, development will not be stopped anywhere. If any issues happened, errors happened, nothing will be happened. So because parallel development, sprints, right? So parallelly, so whatever application we are developing, we means developers. We don't need to involve into development part. As a DevOps engineer, as a cloud engineer, we don't need to work on the development activity. We don't need to develop the code. Developer develop the code. Testers test the code, right? So as a DevOps engineer, we'll coordinate with the developers, testers, operations team, right? Yeah. In parallel development, if any, yeah, every application divided into bits and pieces. One application development divided into bits and pieces, right? So that bits and pieces we can call it as sprint. In development activity, they create branches, different branches. The people will work on, developers work on branches, right? So one branch is having front end, one branch is having back end, other branch is having hot fixes, one more branch is having future release, one more branch is having plugins, patches. Like that, we divide into bits and pieces. So parallelly, development team work on the different branches, different sprints. All the sprints they integrate, right? So how can we divide into sprint? How can they integrate? How can we deploy the application? We'll see that live. In our classes, we'll see in live. Okay. So all the activities we can see in the you can see in our sessions. Whatever activities we perform in real-time projects, same activities we can do in our classes. Application development, code movement, code merging, code pushing, code pulling, integrations, GitHub to Jenkins integration, Jenkins to Maven integration, Maven to Tomcat integration, right? All the integrations we'll see in live. We can integrate. These integrations, configurations are very, very important. Fine. So this is the fourth session we worked on, right? SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle. Clear, right, everyone? Up to here? Any questions up to here? So fourth session is SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle, right? Yeah, someone asking, Venu asking some question here. Can we clear AWS Architect exam will with this course? What are the prerequisites with the exam? Yeah. So once complete our course, you can easily write your exam. That level of training will be provided. If you need any support, I provide you support to clear the exam. Okay. So prerequisites. So you need to prepare. I provide you dumps, exam dumps. If you want to write your own, I provide you exam dumps, and I provide you documentation for all the services, and the recordings also will be available, session recordings. Those you can go through all the recordings, all the dumps, all the documentation, and you can write some mock test. After that, you can attend the exam. That is the process, right? So if you need any support, definitely I provide you support to clear the exam. Okay. So if you don't have time, right? So definitely you can reach out to me. I clear your exam. Okay. I give you support to clear the exam. And integration of systems with API is also covered. Yes, yes, yes. Physically, we don't integrate anything. So tools we can integrate. I'll show you in live classes. I'll show you. Fine. So if anyone need exams support, let me know. You can reach out to me. You can call me, WhatsApp me, so that I'll take care of that. Yeah, I'll explain. End of the session, I'll give you some overview. Okay. This is my mobile number. New guys, you can take down. Whoever joined today, I pinged in the chat 96422 11711. Okay, so up to here we yeah, fourth session we discussed. Next one, servers basics, networks basics also covered. Servers basics, networking basics. So those who are not received these videos, ping me, call me after the session. I'll share with you. You can go through these recordings, all the recordings. These are all basics only. So up to last session, all the basics. Monday onwards, Monday onwards, yeah, we'll move practically more into practical. So even last session also, EC2 also practical, right? Monday onwards, we'll work on all the practical sessions. Okay, like EC2, S3, storage, networking, auto scaling, databases. One by one, we'll go. Yeah. So after SDLC, we covered servers basics. What is server? Types of servers, client server model, server architecture, right? So why we require these basics? Why we require these basics? So before going to cloud infrastructure, before going to AWS, first we need to understand these basics. So if you understand these basics, you can easily cope up in the projects. Like if you can easily cope up in the AWS services, right? So before going to AWS services, first we need to understand these basics. If you understand this terminology, so it is easier to handle AWS services because so we started AWS, right? So before that, you can go through these recordings. Those who joined today or yesterday or day before, I share with you servers and networking basics, or else all the recordings I'll share with you. You can go through one by one. This weekend, you can go through one by one so that so in this servers networking basics, you will get very good terminology, very good information. So before going to cloud, you need to understand the basics. So once you understand this, you can easily understand AWS terminology, right? Yeah, servers types, architecture. So in servers basics, we discussed about four stages, four phases. Initial phase of implementation, second phase of implementation, third phase of implementation, and a fourth phase, which is very, very important, which is Docker infrastructure. We discussed about Docker containers, right? So those are very, very important. That is overview only, not practically, overview only. So while working on Docker, we'll go deep dive. Currently, Docker is very popular now, right? Very advanced tool, very core tool. Most of the project teams they are using Docker containers, and most of the project teams they are using Kubernetes also, right? So in this server basics, we covered Docker in Docker overview. Okay. So after that, we worked on networking part, right? What is network? Types of networks. What is network? Types of networks, right? How can we create network? So what are the advantages of network? What are the characteristics? What are the disadvantages, advantages, right? And which networks we are using currently? We discussed, right? So these basics also very important. Networking basics also very, very important. So these two recordings you can go through everyone. Those who not attended live classes. Fine. Yeah, servers networks basics are very important because yeah, whatever terminology we discussed, even though in networking concepts we discussed about IP addresses, subnet masks, default gateways, routers, load balancers, failovers, right? Yeah, I just want to give you a little overview here. Servers networking basics because this terminology is very, very important. Interview questions also. While working on real-time projects, we'll get all the uh, terminology, and also while attending interviews, we get all the questions, these questions, interview questions. Okay. So in networking concepts, so we discussed about IP addresses and yeah, up to here, yeah, from here it is very, very important. IP addresses, subnet mask, gateways, right? What is IP, anyone? What is IP address? See here, IP stands for Internet Protocol. IP address is a unique address that identifies a device on the internet or a local area network, right? So every laptop, every desktop, every server, every router, every switch is having IP address. one unique address, right? So without which we cannot connect our network. Without IP address, we cannot connect our network. For example, so if I search here CMD command prompt, if I search here IP config, I can see my IP address here. This is the IP address of my system, IP version 4, right? So this is a class C IP address, right? We discussed about classes also, IP classes, class A, class B, class C, class D. This is class C, right? See here, class A range 1 to 126, class B range 182, 128 to 191, class C range 192 to 223. So this IP is class C, right? 192 starts from 192, right? This is class C. This is the class C range. Fine. Yeah. So as per the requirement, we can create the IP addresses ranges in real-time projects. Okay. So while working on VPC in AWS, we'll go deep dive. How can we create IP ranges? How can we work on IP ranges? So in AWS, we have VPC session, VPC service. While working on VPC, we'll go deep dive. So how can we create? How can we configure? Right? Yeah. So this is my IP version 4 address. IP version 4, V4, IP version 4, right? So currently we are using IP version 4. So maybe going forward after 1 year, after 2 years, we use IPv6 also. This is the latest version, right? So currently we are using IPv4. Yeah, next one, subnet mask. What is subnet? What is subnet? Subnet is nothing but subnetwork, small network, right? Subnet is nothing but subnetwork, small network. See here? So subnetwork, small network. These are the small networks. Why we require small network? To control inbound, outbound traffic, we require subnetting, right? Subnetting. So we to control inbound, outbound traffic, we require subnets, small networks. So how can we create subnet? How can we configure subnet? We will see that in AWS services while working on networking part, right? And also IP range, IPs, different IPs are there. IPs we discussed. See here, private IP, public IP, right? What is private IP? What is public IP? So in, yeah, private IP is a static IP. Private IP is a static IP. Public IP is a, so public IP is a dynamic IP normally. Okay. Yeah. In public IP, again, we can have two IPs, public, dynamic and static. So private IP is IP, which is static IP normally, right? So public IP is IP, which is dynamic IP, as well as instead of that, we can convert into static also. That is nothing but IP reservation. So along with these two IPs, we have one more IP is there, which is elastic IP, which is available in AWS. So while working on AWS services, we'll create the elastic IP. How can we create elastic IP? How can we configure elastic IP? How can we work on elastic IP? We'll see that practically. Fine. So subnets also discussed. After that, gateways. Gateway. What is gateway? What is gateway? Gateway is nothing but it is a network router. So if you want to communicate from one network to other network, we required gateways. So this is one network range 10.0.0.0 slash 8, 20.0.0.0 slash 8. So different network ranges, right? So this network to this network communication will not be happen because network range is different. That is why we require gateway to communicate between two networks. To enable the communication between two networks, we require gateway. By using gateway, we can enable the communication. Clear, right, everyone? Yeah. After that, we discussed about firewalls. Firewall. What is firewall? Firewall is a network security systems, network security device. So firewall allow good traffic, deny bad traffic. As per the firewall rules, we can allow deny the traffic. Understand, right? So without firewall, we cannot create cloud servers. Without firewall, we cannot create cloud servers because AWS servers required firewalls. So we can create the firewall and we can create the server, right? How can we enable the firewall? How can we configure the firewall? We'll see that practically. Okay. So after that, we discussed about failover, and a load balancer. What is failover? Replication failover. We discussed, right? Replication and failover, right? So for example, this is one region. What is region? Anyone? What is region? Region is a we discussed already. Region is a data center. Region is a data center. What is data center? Data center is a server room where we host all the servers, right? Where we host all the devices like switches, routers, gateways, load balancers, right? We host all the devices in server room. So for example, this is primary region. Yeah, in the primary region, we have databases, for example. One user is accessing primary region. So this primary region is yeah, down, completely down. What will happen? Automatically, this will fail over to secondary region because we enabled replication here. We enabled replication. So data will be synchronized to secondary region. So this user automatically switch to secondary region in case primary is down, right? Which is nothing but failover. Replication is nothing but duplication. Replication is nothing but duplication. Data will be duplicated, right? Next concept we discussed cluster, which is very, very important interview question. Most of the interviews we get this question. Cluster. What is cluster? Cluster is nothing but group of devices, group of servers, group of switches, group of routers. We can say team members. Team also we can say cluster. For example, 5 members are there in the team. We can say cluster, right? What are the advantages of cluster? Load balancing and a fault tolerance. Load balancing, fault tolerance. So whatever load is happening on these servers, that will be balanced equally. And a fault tolerance. What is fault tolerance? In case one server is down, application will not be down anywhere, right? So cluster concepts are very, very important while working on Kubernetes, Docker, right? We create the clusters. We create clusters. How can we create cluster? How can we configure cluster? How can we, yeah, how can we balance the load? So practically we'll see that. Fine. So these are all basics we discussed in networking part, right? So after that, how to create AWS account. Next session, how to create AWS account, and also console overview. We discussed seventh session, right? Yeah. So this recording I'll share with you. I hope already received this recording. Those who not received, you can ping me, WhatsApp me. So after that, EC2 introduction also. EC2. How can we create EC2 instance? What are the zones? What are the regions? What are the zones? Right? And which regions we use? What is free tier? What is free tier? How can we work on free tier servers? Yeah, someone asking some question here. How do we classify private and public IP addresses? Yes, while working on AWS services, I'll show you. Don't worry. So every cloud, every physical server or laptop or desktop is having only one IP, which is network IP, right? But cloud side, any cloud, not only AWS, not only Azure, not only Google Cloud, any cloud having two IP addresses, public and private, right? So what is public IP? It is a dynamic IP. Private IP is static IP, right? So how can we classify? You are saying, right? Yeah. So if you want to convert public IP into private IP, we can convert. So public IP by default, AWS is providing, which is dynamic IP. Dynamically, the IP will be changed. That we will see practically. How can we assign public IP? How can we assign elastic IP? How can we classify? That we will see practically. Wait for few sessions. Wait for few sessions. We'll see the IP addresses. There is a IP addresses session. By the time I'll show you practically. Gian, you understand, right? Yeah. Fine. So in this, we discussed all the overview, right? So after that, EC2 instance creation. We created a Linux instance, Windows instance, right? So how can we create instance? What are the options, features are there? What are the storage? How can we select storage? How can we create key pair? How can we check the key pair? How can we select a T2 micro, right? How can we select a free tier account, free tier servers? Uh, and in Linux, we selected 8 GB storage, right? In Windows, how much storage we selected? How much storage they are giving? Windows servers? Anyone? Linux server is having 8 GB storage by default. Windows server, how much storage? Anyone? 30 GB, right? Yeah. And also, so Linux servers authentication. What is that authentication? What is the port number in Linux server? What is the authentication? And what is the port number? Authentication is SSH. Port number is 22, right? In Windows, what is the authentication? What is port number? RDP port number 3389. RDP port number 3389, right? So we discussed all this, right? So how can we enable the authentication? Which port numbers we use? What is SSD? What is IOPS? SSD is full form. SSD full form is solid state drives, right? In server AWS servers, we are using SSD drives, solid state drives. What is IOPS? Input output per second, right? So these are all basics we discussed. So how to create EC2 instance? How can we check the all storage options, network options, security, right? These are all we discussed, right? So this session will be repeated on Monday. So Monday again we repeated this. We repeat this again. Monday again we create the EC2 instances. After that, how to connect EC2 instance? How can we check that, right? So how can we connect Windows instance? How can we connect Linux instance? How can we add users into Windows servers? How can we add users into Linux servers, right? How can we hand over to project team? What is security group? What is key pair? So types of key pairs. How can we convert PEM into PPK? How can we use PEM? How can we use PPK? So these are all will be covered on Monday, right? So those who are not attended so far, don't worry. You can go through these recordings and you can continue from Monday. So Monday onwards you can join. So people who joined today only, don't worry. These are all basics. I provide you all the recordings, right? So in our group already 33 members, nearly 30 to 33 members joined, right? In our WhatsApp group already 33 members or 32 members. I don't know exactly. 32 I think. 32 already registered, right? So those people are not registered so far. Those who are not registered so far, you can register today itself. Here, 83 multi-cloud. So here, this is our batch, right? 83 batch, 7 a.m. batch. 32 members already there. Those who are not registered so far, you can register today itself and you can add into WhatsApp group. We'll share all the information in the WhatsApp group only. Yeah, so we'll upload the documents and recordings in Google Drive next week. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, you will get the access. So you can provide your email address and your personal information because our people are adding into Google Drive. So they've sent one form, right? They sent one form, right? You can fill it out so that you will get the Google Drive access. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday you will get the access. Fine. So Monday onwards, don't miss the sessions. Monday onwards, we are going to work on all these services one by one. Yeah, so those are very core services in AWS. If you understand AWS, you can handle any other platform. Even Azure, Google Cloud also can easily handle. So AWS is the first platform, which is very core platform, important platform, right? So if you understand AWS, you can understand any platform. Clear, right, everyone? So any questions so far, anyone? Anyone having any questions so far?